Hello everyone, back to today's second video. Going to have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days for today's second video. So it's going to take us to around the 7th of December, but actually we'll be able to extend out a little bit beyond that with the extended GFS, which runs around 2 weeks away. So weather is on the change right now, and we're bringing in a band of heavy rain across the country associated with Storm Diana. And that's going to give us a bout of wet and windy weather over the next couple of days, starting with today's rain band. There'll be more wind and rain tomorrow. Winds at their worst tomorrow, I think, and then more very wet weather across parts of England and Wales on Thursday. So going to be a very different few days coming up compared to the quiet cold weather that we've had recently. As I say, this change is underway right now with a band of rain pushing across the country. We'll start with that, and then we'll have a look at the weather for the next week, 10 days. Just to say that today's first video was the ECMWF 30-day look ahead, and that's taking us to just before Christmas for the UK and for the rest of Europe too, and it looks like it'll be quite a mild December if this model is correct. Big if, of course. Right, so better get on with today's second video. I'm running quite late, sorry about that. So this is the latest radar picture from the Weather Outlook with a band of heavy rain stretched out across many parts of the country. The rain hasn't yet arrived across Scotland and the far east of England. Have got some heavy showers across eastern Scotland, but that's ahead of this main rain band. And this is the main rain band just here from northwestern and west parts of Scotland down through northwestern England into now increasing into the Midlands, central southern England, through Wales as well. A clearance has arrived across Ireland, the far southwest of Wales and southwestern parts of England, and as this rain pushes through, the temperature is going to be lifting up because we're going to change the wind direction from southeasterlies to westerlies. In fact, you can see this quite well on these latest observations in terms of the wind speed and direction from XC weather. Nothing particularly alarming in terms of the wind yet, although it is pretty gusty across the far southwest of Scotland and some parts of Northern Ireland, and maybe running up the Irish Sea too. It's got pretty windy there. Otherwise, nothing too dramatic going on with winds, but you can see the change in wind direction that this front is bringing. So ahead of the front, we've got these east to southeasterly winds, and they're cold winds that are covering many parts of the UK. But you'll see across Ireland and then down to the west of Wales and southwest England, there's a complete switch in wind direction from those east-southeasterlies into a west-southwesterly, and obviously that's going to be a much milder wind direction. So these are the temperatures, latest temperature observations from XC Weather, and again you can see the mild air beginning to now get into the very far southwest. We've got North Wick up to 10 degrees. If we go further south, Camborne is up to 12 degrees. Let's go out into the Scilly Isles. We're up to 12 degrees there, 54 Fahrenheit. Then up into Island Cork is at 9, and Shannon is at 10. However, most places are still pretty cold. So we've got Wittering in the East Midlands at 5 degrees, Leeds, Bradford at just 4 degrees, Leaming at 6 degrees. We carry on to Newcastle, 6 degrees up there, and then Tulloch Bridge in Scotland up to 5 degrees. So this weather front is bring quite a drastic change in the temperature. You'll notice when it's gone through that the temperature really does start to lift up, but under the rain and ahead of it, it really is quite a cold, dismal and wet day. Not very nice at all. But then once this front goes through, temperatures will be going to boost. Tomorrow's going to be very mild indeed. Could be up to 15 degrees tomorrow. That is around 60 Fahrenheit, although it will be quite windy, so it won't feel that mild. But certainly temperature's getting a big boost once this front moves through. Right, centering temperature looks like this. The latest from Hadley shows that the CT is up to 8.2 degrees, an anomaly of nearly 1.5 degrees above average still. That's provisional up to the 26th. Don't think it's going to change a great deal in the next day or two for the rest of the month. It might actually tick up by a couple of tenths of a degree tomorrow with that very mild day we've got coming up tomorrow. But then probably get a downwards correction because we usually do at the end of the month. So I anticipate this is going to finish up somewhere around 8 degrees. Might be a little bit under 8 degrees. It might be a little bit over 8 degrees. So let's say anything from around 7.8 to like 8.2 or 8.3 looks like it'll be our finishing number, and a milder than average November, despite the fact it's been pretty cold in the last week or so, but not cold enough to offset that very, very mild start we had with the first 2 weeks of the month. So yes, milder than average November. Not a huge deviation, not like 2 or 3 degrees above average, but certainly a generally mild month this November, despite the fact we have been through quite a cold snap. And of course, that's the reason it wasn't cold enough, is that we didn't really get many frosty nights. So to really bring the CET down at this time of year, you have to have cold days, but also cold nights. What we've been having is a mixture of pretty cold days, below average temperature by day, but not particularly cold nights due to lots of cloud being brought in by the east wind. If the high pressure had been clear, you hadn't had that cloud, then I suspect this probably would have dropped down close to average. Actually, it would have been quite a bit lower than that if we'd been able to string together a run of 5 or 6 very frosty nights, but we wasn't able to do that, and so that's the reason that while we have been through quite a cold snap, it hasn't been cold enough to offset the very mild temperatures we had at the beginning of the month. So we're going to come out with a milder than average November, and that will mean autumn 2018 is slightly milder than average as well. GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks looking like this. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average. Looking at London today. So temperatures are on the up, really. Going to be rising to quite a mild level over the next couple of days, going above 5 degrees at 850 HPA and above that all-important 30-year temperature average. A bit of a drop down then takes place at the end of the week, but only very briefly before it turns very mild over the weekend and into the start of next week again. I'm going to go through the rest of the first week of November into the second week of December, getting quite close to the middle of December now in the extended range. We're up to the 13th. And we see a real split there still within the GFS ensembles. I think today a lot of the ensemble members in this more extended range are actually trending to the milder side of things, but we do still have several colder options on the table. So as we run up towards the middle part of December, there is the possibility that we might get some colder weather, but I think overall the GFS ensembles are probably trending more towards the milder side of things at the moment through this second week of December. Very unsettled week ahead. Lots and lots of precipitation spikes from now through to around the 5th of December. Plenty of rain to come. After that, a little bit drier then as we're running into the more extended range. Still with precipitation spikes, but it doesn't look as definitively wet and unsettled as it's going to be in the next week. Temperature anomalies, and this shows up on the ECMWF 30-day look ahead, by the way. Temperature anomalies showing a real east-west split across Europe, so many of these eastern and southeastern parts of Europe coming out substantially colder than average in the week ahead. But in the north and west, it's looking a lot milder than average. So the UK and Ireland, much of Scandinavia, much of France, Germany, Low Countries, and also Spain and Portugal, a lot milder than average for those areas. So it is going to be a pretty mild start to December, to say the least. Precipitation anomalies from the 27th of November to 5th of December are coming out above average for the UK, for Ireland, and the France. So it's going to be quite unsettled, mild and wet, basically summing it up through the west of Europe. The driest conditions are in the southwest, around Spain and Portugal, and also over in the east, where, of course, it is coldest. That's how the GFS 6 o'clock run, the latest run, although the midday run won't be too long before that's out. But at the moment, this is still the latest run of the GFS a 6 o'clock run. For Friday, we're bringing in this west-northwesterly wind, sunshine and showers, really, with that. Over the weekend, low pressure never too far away, so showers or longer spells of rain, particularly I would have thought for England and Wales. Could be a little bit drier and colder up across Scotland. Into the early part of next week, we're keeping things unsettled. We've got high pressure to our south down here. We've got low pressure to our north, and there's a weather system or a weather front that's in that kind of position. Notice there's a bit of a ridge building through the middle of the northern Atlantic. So more rain to come through the early part of next week. And then that gets out of the way into the middle of next week. We start to build up this ridge of high pressure across the country. That's within somewhat colder air. So at the very least that could bring some frost and fog through the middle part of next week and possibly lasting into the second half next week. This is Friday, day 10, 7th of December, shows high pressure over top of the UK, probably bringing a lot of dry weather, but there will be a risk of frost and fog with that. In the more extended range, you'll notice heights are building to our northeast, so we're trying to ridge this high pressure up to Scandinavia. There is very cold air on the southern side of this high pressure, so we've got a big high pressure up here. It's slipping down into Scandinavia. We've got a lot of cold air underneath, and we're trying to turn the wind into the east, but most of that cold air is going down to the southeast of Europe at this point. This ridge here over the UK has got to push further northwards, get to around there to allow these cold easterly winds to move in that direction. Let's see if it gets there. So this takes us to the 11th of December, and we've still got high pressure centred over the top of the country at this point, bringing a lot of dry and fine, but probably frosty and foggy weather. We get through to the extended end of the extended range of this operational run of the GFS. It takes us to Thursday the 13th of December, and we're still under high pressure, so it certainly is dry. We're broken out of that very unsettled spell of weather quite quickly, but it has turned it's turned mainly dry, but we're not talking about true Siberian or Arctic cold with that. The true cold air is going down into the southeast of Europe down here, and we're just sort of having inversion type cold. Some people call that faux cold, where it's cold on the surface through frost and fog, and it's mild and loft. I mean, personally, I think cold is cold. It doesn't matter. If the temperature is -5, it doesn't matter whether that's brought about by Siberian easterly or whether it's brought about by an inversion. It's still going to be cold. You're still going to need to put your coat and scarf and gloves on if temperatures get down to -5 at night. So anyway, that's frost and fog type conditions through that second week of December on this latest 6 o'clock run of the GFS. This is the 6 o'clock run of the parallel GFS. So this is being run in parallel to the operational run. Next year, the parallel run, this run that you're just looking at, will become the operational GFS run. So let's go through and into the weekend. Unsettled, low pressure, never far away, bringing showers or longer spells of rain as well. That takes it to the middle of next week, still looking pretty unsettled then. Then, same idea, second half of next week, we break out of that unsettled spell of weather and build up this high pressure across the UK, and we are trying again to ridge it up towards Scandinavia. Is the parallel run any more successful than the operational run at getting this high pressure to Scandinavia? Let's have a look. This is Saturday the 8th of December. The high pressure is probably building over Scandinavia at 1,035 millibars. And look at that, we do actually get the wind into the east again. As we go into the extended range, we're into Monday the 10th of December and then Tuesday the 11th. And the wind is turning easterly. The Scandinavian high has successfully developed. We've succeeded in ridging the high pressure up to Scandinavia, building another high pressure over Scandi, and then that's allowing, as I say, that allows the wind to pull in properly from the east. So instead of like what's happening with the operational GFS, which takes the high pressure down, in the cold air down into southeastern Europe, as that high pressure just sits in this sort of position, because we get that high pressure further north on the parallel run of the GFS, we managed to get high pressure to Scandinavia, and so that allows the wind to go into the east. So start to pull in colder air from Russia and Eastern Europe as we go to the middle of December. We look properly blocked again. Thursday, 13th of December, has the wind back in to the east, and I suspect if we could see the upper air temperatures, they would look pretty chilly. Yeah, we're pushing -5 ice firm through the country. So, still on a knife edge, really, this second week of December, between milder options, possibly something a bit colder. Talking of the parallel run of the GFS, I want to just show you this. It's regularly going for a stratospheric warming, quite a significant stratospheric warming now. So this is the extended range starting on the 5th of December with the parallel run of the GFS, looking at the stratospheric temperatures over the North Pole. So these blue colours just here, blues and purples, where we've got the cold temperatures in the stratosphere over the North Pole. Look what it does as we go through to the 9th, the 10th. It does produce a very significant warming of the stratosphere, actually. This is the 11th of December. It's almost, not quite at sudden stratospheric warming levels at 10 HPA, but it is almost getting to a sudden stratospheric warming type level with that little bit of orange appearing just there. In any case, it is a very significant warming of the stratosphere that's going on there. For so early in the season, you would expect to see those sorts of developments like January and February. So, again, there is still this idea within the model output that we might get some sort of major warming of the stratosphere quite early on this winter. That's how the GM is looking, the Canadian model for Friday. Unsettled, these unsettled conditions stay with us into the weekend. Low pressure never far away, bringing showers or longer spells of rain, and that lasting to next week until late on. Again, there's that build of high pressure through the second half of next week. Again, it is trying to ridge up towards Scandinavia. You've got this high pressure nosing out of, it's nosing out of Russia, actually. That's a proper Siberian high that's up there, and it's sending a ridge down to Scandinavia, and that ridge is trying to suck up the high pressure that's building over the UK. So this could all finish up with one huge, large blocking feature up here somewhere. It could do, but it will depend whether the Atlantic eases off the accelerator and allows that blocking to really get into the northern latitudes properly. Just have to wait and see. But again, all options seem to be on the table, I think, for this second week of December running up to the middle of the month. And then the ECMWF is looking like this. So Friday, very unsettled, showers, long spells of rain. These unsettled conditions staying with us into next week as well. Quite a mild first half to next week with quite a bit of wet weather. The second half of next week, again, there's that building pressure. This time, the ECM has it a little bit away from us, actually over Germany, centre of that pressure, which leaves us bringing up more of a milder south-westerly or southerly type flow, but it's just differences within a theme, really. The broad idea, the basic idea, is still, but as we go into the second half of next week, a build of pressure takes place, and we're going to have to wait and see where that high pressure sits and how far north we can get it. Let's have a look finally at the ECM postage stamps from the Icelandic Met. See all the options that are on the table within the 51 members of the ECM ensembles. We're looking at day 10 first of all, which is of course it's the 7th of December. And these are the various options that are on the table. So we've got 17 members of the ECMWF ensemble at day 10, building this ridge through much of Western Europe. It actually ridges up to the north, but it centres to the south of the UK as well. Low pressure is out here. So this one probably quite cool, probably frosty, foggy type condition. I think the mild air is generally a little bit to the west of us going up there. So that's an anticyclonic one at day 10 with a fair amount of frost and fog. I would imagine the 6 o'clock operational GFS is kind of similar to that. Then we've got another 9 ECMWF ensemble members that have the high pressure down to southwest, and so these are very mild ensemble members. These are bringing the air up from the middle of the Atlantic, from a tropical Atlantic, moving it over top of that ridge, and they're pretty mild options, albeit with a lot of dry weather. Then we've got another 9, which are very unsettled, very different option. This one with a deep trough of low pressure centred just to the north of the UK, some ridging around there, but quite weak, and those ones are bringing in sort of a strong westerly wind. They're very unsettled with a lot of rain. We've got another 8 to them, so a real split within the ECM ensembles at the moment at day day 10. We've got another 8 that are very anticyclonic for UK. I mean, it's hard to make the UK out, but we're around there, UK and Ireland. And this is northern blocking type stuff as well. This is all going a long way north with that high pressure centred over the top of the UK and region north. That's probably cold and dry, and maybe a little bit of an influence from the east or the northeast as well. And then finally, we've got another 8 ensemble members, which are similar to the operational run of the ECM and has that ridge just that little bit further eastwards, centred around Germany at day 10. With low pressure out here, we bring up a mild southerly flow for the UK. So lots and lots of options on the table. It looks like the ECM is trending towards high pressure building in by day 10, bringing a fair amount of settled weather. But exactly where that high pressure is sitting is going to be crucial. It might be quite cold and frosty, though, if the high pressure sits in the right place. And then we go to the very end of the extended ECM ensembles. This takes us to the 12th of December, and we've got 21 ensemble members at this point, with high pressure down to the southwest, low pressure out to the northwest, and we bring in these mild west or southwesterly winds. So 21 ensemble members in 2 weeks' time, keeping it mild but reasonably dry. We've got 16 ensemble members taking the high pressure up to Scandinavia, and they're bringing in cold easterly winds. And then we've got 14 ensemble members looking much more unsettled, with low pressure through the Atlantic and into the UK as well. Notice these ones do have quite a strong blocking signal up to the north, so they would be threatening, trying to bring in very cold air from the east and the northeast. But actually, most of these ensembles will probably be quite mild, but really quite wet. So there's a lot of different options on the table as we get through to the sort of 2 week mark. But even as early as 10 days away, we've got to see where this high pressure is going. It does look as though this really unsettled weather that's starting today, with showers, longer spells of rain and quite a bit of wind too, going to last for about a week, maybe a little bit more than a week. But by the second half of next week, it does look as though high pressure is returning. The position of that high pressure is going to be very, very important. It's possible we could turn very mild through the second week of December. I wouldn't rule that out at all, but we bring up some really mild air from the Azores and throw it around the top of the high pressure if it's sitting somewhere like southern Germany or the Alps. But if we can get that high pressure over the UK, and I think that's probably the most favoured position, to have high pressure sort of central to the UK, then we could be quite frosty, dry, frosty, cold, frost and fog. And there's an outside possibility we may get the high pressure to Scandinavia and get the wind into the east. But at the moment, that is not a particularly well supported scenario, but it is a possibility. So again, all options are on the table. We'll wait and see what happens for the second week of December. But before we get there, we are in for a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and it's all starting as early as today. Right, that's your 2 videos for today. Tomorrow we'll do a 5-day forecast. We'll have a look at the weather for next week to 10 days again. I think we'll include the Beijing Climate Centre in that one tomorrow as well. And I'm sure we'll have a Christmas update for you tomorrow evening too. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.